Mr. Robert Watson of Watson Financial Incorporated personally meets Mr. Harl Perry Davis Sr., the richest man in Texas. He is offering Mr. Davis a deal he cannot refuse. What Mr. Davis is not aware of is that Mr. Robert Watson Financial Whiz Kid is in fact Baron Robert von Wattenberg, elusive, aristocratic, super wealthy criminal mastermind. He is capable of almost anything, including murder, to get what he wants.
Thank you, Mr. Watson, for picking me up. I could have arranged to have transportation into the city.
Not a problem at all, Mr. Davis. It will give us a chance to talk before we get into Manhattan. Mr. von Wattenberg is looking forward to talking to you about an exclusive investment opportunity. So here is my elevator pitch, Mr. Davis.
Okay, you got my attention, young man.
Baron von Wattenberg has selected an elite group of men who he is offering an outstanding chance to invest with guaranteed returns on your investments with minimal risk. The use of futures and options will help cushion the returns against the market's ups and downs. Von Wattenberg has made up for the cost of the hedges, which could have caused him to trail the stock market's returns, with stock picking and market timing.
Okay, all that stock market mumbo-jumbo is just a fancy way to say he is gambling with my money and covering his ass somehow.
No, sir, not at all. Rather than offer high returns to all comers, von Wattenberg offers modest but steady returns to an exclusive clientele. The investment method is generally too complicated for outsiders to understand.
How much of a return are we talking about? 20% or so?
If anyone promises you a 20% return, it is a Ponzi scheme, Mr. Davis. Our fund, which we describe as strategic, focuses on shares in the Standard & Poor's 100 stock index and have reported a 10.5% annual return during the previous 17 years.
Okay, that sounds good.
Our fund is exclusive, a velvet rope fund. By invitation only.
And if I don't like the returns, can I get my money out anytime I want?
Of course, but many of our investors are wary of removing their money from the fund in case they could not get back in later. Mr. von Wattenberg is very selective and not disposed to offering a second chance. His track record speaks for itself. His clientele list is a who's who of world millionaires and billionaires. He does not suffer indecisive or weak people gladly.
Will I meet von Wattenberg in person?
Well, no, not at this meeting. He is a bit of a recluse. But he has selected a very well-heeled group of gentlemen like yourself, known for their business acumen and investment process.
Sounds like a kook to me. And a foreigner.
Well, yes, he is eccentric, and you are correct. He does not hold a US passport. But, as you know, von Wattenberg has unusual access to Washington lawmakers, members of British Parliament, Russian oligarchs with connection to the Kremlin, and Chinese billionaires with seats on the Politburo. At the moment his published portfolio is $135 billion, eclipsing even Bernie Madoff, Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns, and Goldman Sachs. He can afford to be odd.
That's tall cotton there, son.
We are talking about the man behind the men who control the powers of finance and power, Mr. Davis. This is not some upstart oil man from West Texas. This is real money and real power, and you have been personally invited to join this elite group. My recommendation is to listen to the offer and take it. He will not ask again.
To be continued. Stay tuned for episode 2.